LEIGHTDICKEY.com. Do you have an event or occasion coming up that could use a special touch? Perhaps a wedding, a production, a show? Good! Then you're in luck. Hayley Moores is who you're looking for. Hayley is a makeup artist in the Toronto, Ontario area, specializing in bridal, glam, natural, and special effects. She's incredibly talented, professional, easy to work with, and has a personality that is second to none. To book Hayley Moores today, follow her on Instagram at mad_milash, that's MAD_MILASH, or email her at madmilash, again, that's MADMILASH @gmail.com. Book Hayley Moores today, you'll be glad you did. LEIGHTDICKEY.com. LEIGHTDICKEY.com. Do you find yourself reminiscing on what life was like when you were younger? Do your favorite songs, movies, and TV shows instantly take you back to a simpler time? Great! Then you're in the right place. Join me, Leigh Dickey, on my new web series and podcast, Yo Nostalgia, where I cover everything you grew up with. From films and toys to fads and trends, Yo Nostalgia has it all. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever podcasts are available. Follow along on social media at Yo Nostalgia Show to keep up on this time-traveling trip. Yo Nostalgia, breathing new life into your memories, available everywhere now. LEIGHTDICKEY.com. LEIGHTDICKEY.com. Do you enjoy good conversation? Are you a person with many passions? Perfect. Then the Beats and Speaks podcast is for you. Join me, Leigh Dickey, every Friday for stories and interviews about everyday life with everyday people about everyday things. Everyone has a story, and I just want to help them tell it. The Beats and Speaks podcast, your everyday life, everyday stories, everyday people, comedy and entertainment audio joyride. Subscribe and download on LEIGHTDICKEY.com, Leigh Dickey TV on YouTube, and your favorite podcast app. The Beats and Speaks podcast, available everywhere now. LEIGHTDICKEY.com. LEIGHTDICKEY.com. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Leigh Dickey here. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. Today, this week, I want to tell you about one of my favorite television stations, about one of my favorite channels ever, and that is the Food Network. I cannot get enough of the Food Network, and I'm going to tell you why right after I tell you where you can find the Beats and Speaks podcast. Of course, brand new episodes of the Beats and Speaks podcast are released every single Friday on my official website, LEIGHTDICKEY.com, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and wherever you get your podcasts. Please do comment, like, share, and subscribe. Find us on YouTube as well. We're under Leigh Dickey TV. Leave us reviews and rate us 5 stars if you would too, please, and thank you. If you want to follow along with me and the show, follow on social media at Leigh T. Dickey. Send comments, questions, and guest requests to LeighTDickey@gmail.com. Now that all that housekeeping is out of the way, let's get to the main event. Let's get to why you are here, and that is why I love the Food Network so much right here, right now on the Beats and Speaks podcast. Alright, so yes, the Food Network. I love the Food Network, mostly because I love to eat, I love food, and you can tell by looking at me, even though I've curbed that a little bit by losing a massive amount of weight in the past couple of years. Still, I love food, I like to eat. If I can shove it through my word hole without the words having to come out, then we're in a good place. I like that. Love it, okay? And to be quite honest with you, I don't have regular access to the Food Network. So, I mean, when I do have access to it, it's just a magical, happy, warm time in my life and in my household. What I mean by that is not having regular access to it. I have a satellite dish in my house, and the Food Network is not part of any of the packages I subscribe to on the regular. I think I have what is basically considered the step above basic. So, and that's, the Food Network is not part of whatever the step above basic is. And to be quite honest with you, if I were to get the package that the Food Network is in just to have it on the regular, I mean, if I could afford it, I'd pay for it. But that would just, the bill would be too much. So, when I do get the free preview or when I do, catch it, if I'm out and about, like I will sit and watch the Food Network. I love the Food Network. Now, some of my favorite shows on the Food Network, obviously, because it's the Food Network, they all have to do with food. So yay. And I have fallen in love with the Food Network because simply, like I said, I just love to eat. I first kind of really started paying attention to the Food Network because of a little show called Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Guy Fieri, or is it Fieri? Fieri. And I love the fact that he goes to these dive bars, diners, and drive-ins, or like these restaurants, these local restaurants that people write into him about, or, that they hear about, that make enough noise. And that's basically, if you get the Guy Fieri stamp of approval, you're set for life because, I mean, what he says in terms of like food, at least from what I gather, it's sort of like gospel. He is like the Pope of food, if you will. And you just hear these stories of him going to somewhere like a restaurant in the middle of nowhere, and suddenly they'll go back a few years later, maybe even a decade later, if they're still in business, and business is booming. Like business basically exploded. Business blew up, and it's amazing. Like they've gone to places. They've come up here to. Well, I'm in Toronto, Canada, where this show comes to you from. They've come up here. They've gone to the Lakeshore Diner and a couple other places around town. Like I know they've gone to Mezza's. They've gone to Hey Meatball in Little Italy. So it's cool that even they have come up here. Like they've gone to restaurants in Vancouver, but they're obviously, because it's a States-based show, they're primarily down in the States. And a lot of the places they go to, they're down in the States, and you see like drive-ins that have been there like 50, 60, 70 years, if not more. You see, these dive bars where like they use payment books, right? And these diners that are like either diner cars or like these small little places, but they're jam-packed because of A, the people working there, B, the atmosphere, C, and probably most importantly, the food. And obviously, word gets around, and if you find a fantastic local spot, go, right? I mean, that's how I basically fell in love with the Food Network at first. And then I found this little show that's not produced anymore, which is unfortunate, but it's one of my favorites because I have a massive sweet tooth, okay? And as of this recording, I'm actually recording this 3 days after my birthday. So, chocolate cake and or like chocolate and cake separately, I love, or anything sweet, I love, okay? And, this show that I'm about to tell you about, Ace of Cakes with Duff Goldman and his shop, Charm City Cakes out in Baltimore and Charm City Cakes West out in LA. But during the run of Ace of Cakes, they were primarily based in Baltimore. And it was cool just to see what they would come up with, whether it was like a retirement cake or a birthday cake or something for a bride and groom for their wedding. I mean, he did cakes for his staff who were getting married on the show. And for those of you that want to know, if you watch the Metal Jesus Rocks channel on YouTube, and his buddy Drunken Master Paul, he did the first 3 seasons of Ace of Cakes. So that's cool. That's a little bit of an Easter egg. I think they mentioned it in one of their Gamer Eats videos. So, definitely go check them out. But it's cool, and I think Drunken Master Paul now owns Midnight Cookie Company out in Seattle. So there's a little plug for him. Not that he needs it, and not that he knows who I am, but still. And that was, just something to behold. Like they did cakes for Radio City Music Hall, the Rockettes, and the Kentucky Derby, for the Baltimore Orioles. It's something for the military out there. It's cool just to see what they come up with and what they got to do. It was just cool to see the cakes that they did. They just came to life. They would leap off the TV screen, and I instantly there was a large part of me that there is a large part of me now that still wants to go to Baltimore just to see Charm City Cakes. There's a large part of me that wants to go to LA just to see Charm City Cakes West. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd love to go there just because you get to travel a little bit. LA especially because it's warmer and they don't have this thing called winter and cold doesn't exist. So, I mean, that's part of the reason. Duff seems like just this genuine fun guy. Why wouldn't you want to go, see what he's built and see what he does? That would just be amazing, And then seasonally, they have these shows, the baking championship shows, Halloween baking championship, spring baking championship, the holiday baking championship. I love them all, but primarily my love is the holiday baking championship. Why? Because I am an uber fan of Christmas. I love Christmas. I love the holidays, and this just sets the perfect mood. Whether when you're just trying to get into that Christmas mood around, say, the beginning of November into December and through Christmas and into the new year. Here's the deal. I'm a guy that celebrates Christmas all year long, and when we get to November, I always look forward to the Holiday Baking Championship just because I love to see what they can do, what, the contestants can do, what the challenges are, who the judges are for that season, who the host is. I know that Bobby Dean was doing it for a while. Duff's always been with that show, and most of the cake championship show or the baking championship shows. So he's a big fixture as much as Guy Fieri is. And I just, again, with the Holiday Baking Championship, I just love to see what they can do, how festive they can get, what festive flavors they get, what their challenges are, what their preheat stuff is, and what their final heat challenge has to be. It's just amazing to see what these guys get to create. And then, there's also something like Carnival Eats, which is hosted by Noah Cap, which is produced primarily, I think, out of Canada because that's where Noah Cap is from. And it's so cool to see it. I don't remember the last time I was at a carnival. I don't remember the last time I actually had food at a carnival either. So to get to see him go to all these carnivals all over the place. I know he's been to the Royal Winter Fair here in Toronto, but he's been to places in Michigan, Massachusetts, everywhere, right? To just try these carnival mainstays. Deep fried corn dogs just elevated. Or a deep fried peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Because why not? A funnel cake pizza. Why not? Right? It's just a bit of everything. And how can you not love the creations that people come up with? It's just so cool to watch people come up with creations and it has to do with food so you can eat it. It's all well and good to be a chef, but you gotta love the food. You gotta be creative with the food, and you might as well just enjoy it while you're there and while you get to do it. Because, let's face it, it's food, it's a universal language. We all love it, and that is just why I love the Food Network so much. The baking championship shows, anything sweet, and just the crazy things that you see on that channel. Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, Guys Grocery Games, Food Network Star, if that's still going on. And I'm impartial to Chopped. I got nothing against it. It's not my favorite show, but I'll watch it just to see these guys go, well, what's in the basket? And then, you have to come up with something on the fly in a certain amount of time as well. Ted Allen is fantastic as the host. And then you've got Cutthroat Kitchen with Alton Brown, another great show, but I flat out love the Food Network. Can't get enough of it. It's a shame I don't have regular access to it, but when I do get that free preview that comes around once or twice a year, I take full advantage of it. But thank you all again for listening and tuning in to this week's episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. Of course, I have been your host, Leigh Dickey. This has been the Beats and Speaks podcast, but we will see you all and talk to you all next Friday for a brand new episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. Please do follow along on social media at LEIGHTDICKEY. Send your comments, questions, guest requests to LeighTDickey@gmail.com. Comment, like, share, and subscribe. Find us on YouTube under Leigh Dickey TV, your favorite podcast app and player of choice. Rate us 5 stars. Leave us reviews too, if you would. But this wraps up this week's episode. Thanks again for listening. I've been Leigh Dickey. This has been the Beats and Speaks podcast, and we will see you all and talk to you all next Friday for a brand new episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. I'm Leigh Dickey, and I'm signing off. Peace. LeighTDickey.com